5, 4, 3, 2, 1. The Words About Games Psychotic Stream has begun.
Ranking Resident Evil. Greetings and welcome, guys, golden non-binary pals. This is Words About Games. I'm Vitz Patel. Above me is Amy K. Alexander, and below me is the wonderful David Moody. How are you all doing, my friends?
Great.
Very good.
There you go. So enthusiasm. So this is our very first charity stream for the wonderful team at Special Effect. We're raising money for Special Effect, an awesome charity that changes lives. If you've seen one of our charity fundraisers before, this one works a little bit different. But thanks to your support already, we have smashed through so many goals, everybody. So this is our very first stream where we'll be ranking all things Resident Evil and maybe some things that aren't Resident Evil as well. But I won't spoil any more surprises. After this, we'll be...
I just want to be clear here. Neither of these two have seen this presentation either.
100%, yeah.
Sorry, continue.
No, it's all good. At £100, which we smashed through just a few days ago, Moody will play Halo Reach. Now, for our new friends here, Moody and Halo, they have like a tenuous relationship. I don't think it could be described as fun. Is that fair?
Like, Locke's the best character ever. Like, I've been
You
wanting
didn't
more
play that
Locke
game. You didn't play that game.
Since 5. It's insane.
You didn't
like,
play that game.
I heard he was the greatest character of all time, and we never even reached that game, but he's the greatest character of all time.
Oh, that's a good point, actually. Like, for a future fundraiser, we should definitely make him play Halo 5.
Oh, add to the list. Let's go.
I was there, Vitz. I was there 3,000 years ago when the strength of Moody failed.
Yeah.
We will... Sorry, carry on, Moody.
I was just going to say, it's like there was no sprint button. It's like the most useless game ever.
Well, let's see if Halo Reach has a sprint button, because that's the game that we'll be playing. Speaking to the team over at Special Effect, they are so excited about this because that's like one of their favorite games ever. So we'll either make some hearts or break some hearts. It'll be one of the two. There's no in between.
I can guarantee you it's going to be one of them.
Mm-hmm. As you may have gathered, Amy and Moody, they have a little bit of competitive streak together, so I thought, why not pit them against each other in a gauntlet of game shows? So I'll be running legally distinct 90s game shows on one of these charity streams as well, where we'll be doing slightly modified versions, which are totally legally distinct, and you haven't seen them anywhere else. Chat be cool. So that's going to be all different kinds of fun. We will also be doing our favorite video games ever ranked. So if you were there to catch our Game of the Year podcast towards the end of 2023, start 2024, we essentially just put up a huge list together of all different types of video games that were released during the year, and then we just whittled it down. But because this is our favorite games ever, well, there's going to be some personal stakes in this, and it's going to be chaos, and it's going to be wonderful. Friends, because of your fantastic support, we are almost at the next tier from that, when Amy, the wonderful Amy K. Alexander here, will play a mystery game. Who knows what it is? Maybe when we hit that goal, we'll do a cheeky reveal, but we'll figure that all out in good time. But first, before all of that, Amy, take it away with ranking Resident Evil.
Oh God, why did I agree to this? Like, I know it's for charity, but like, what do I know a lot about Resident Evil? And it turns out I know too much about Resident Evil. Yes, as you can see, this is my Resident Evil ranking final. I've been working on this document for about a month, and you might be thinking, how did it take you a month to make a list of games? Well, your first clue to the insanity that follows is that this is a PowerPoint presentation, not a Google Doc. So this definitely spiraled out of control. I've already forgotten what the next slide is, and also how to make...
We'll find out together, Ames. It's all good.
The slideshow work. I can make slideshows work. I've never done this before. I'm just going to point out that I've never made a slideshow before.
Can't say that anymore. Now you've done it.
Now I have made a slideshow before, and it's far too long. So like I made a ranking system. The games are ranked 1 to 10. It's an ordered list. So not 1 to 10, 1 to like 29 or something, whatever. There are non-games in here because there's been Resident Evil things that are not video games, and I put those in the list too. Because I thought, why not? I've experienced them, so now I'm going to force them on all of you. But then I made categories as well, and you can see on the screen that I've split this list into several categories. The first category is just why. That's the category, why.
Amazing.
The second one, that's going to be a yikes for me, Doug. I feel that one's fairly self-explanatory. There's some Resident Evil games that make you sort of, you get to a moment in them, and you go, yikes.
I think I know exactly the ones you're on about.
The next category is just bad. And then the category after it, bad, but like, funny way. So also kind of good, I guess. Like those two categories, like there's bad where you can enjoy it yourself, and there's bad, which is just
like
bad.
a good bad. Yeah.
Yeah, there's bad where you go, this is awful. And then there's bad where you just try not to fall asleep. The next category after that, yeah, okay, whatever, I guess. Like, in creating this list, I realized there were many Resident Evil experiences that elicited no strong opinions from me. So they all ended up in one place. The next one is, okay, these are pretty good. Good job. Like, my hat is off to you, developers of these particular Resident Evil games. You did a good job because they're pretty good. And then, of course, the life-changing bangers. The reason this list exists, the reason for my love of Resident Evil, I believe that's the top 5. There's going to be interludes between the categories where I rank different things that aren't Resident Evil games.
Yeah,
but are all Resident Evil related. If you hate these interludes in any way, I blame Vitz. It was his idea. And there's also going to be a quiz after, so you need to pay attention.
Moody, looking at you here.
Do you have your notepads out? I'm talking to Vitz, I'm talking to Moody, I'm talking to chat. I'm talking to everybody on the YouTube side of things. I'll know if you don't complete the quiz.
Like, why is there a quiz?
Because I said so.
But it's right there in the letters.
I did not agree to this.
It's in high contrast, Moody. It's white on grey. What more do you want?
These were the default colors, by the way. Just so everybody's aware. I put as much effort into this as I could, and I'm not. Graphic design is not one of my passions. Also,
Send Nuggies is furiously taking notes.
hashtag blame Vitz. Yes. Let's get that trending.
All right, chat. Before Amy,
if Honeyboy wasn't bad
into
enough, hashtag blame Vitz.
Before Amy throws us all under the barrel here and everything like that, I want everybody to get all of these notes going. I see you all in there. Get all the notes, and when we need a question answering, you throw that answer in chat so me and Vitz can just knock it out of the park. Especially me. So I might fall asleep.
I doubt it. All right, so are we all ready to go?
Hell yeah.
Chat, are you ready to go? YouTube, are you ready to go? Again, I can see you through the time stream. I watched Doctor Who all day yesterday. I can see through the time stream.
Chat is locked in like they're about to take on Mesmer the Impaler. Let's go.
In that case, I don't understand that reference yet. Let's go. So, the first category. Why? Why do these games exist? And we're going to start at number 35. With Umbrella Corps. Does anyone know what this game is?
I do not, I've got to say.
Never heard of it.
Excellent. And then I apologize for everything that's about to happen. Umbrella Corps was a lot. Yeah, there you go. Send Nuggies has got it. Send Nuggies knows my pain. I have played this game. I own this game on PlayStation. You know me, right? With my video game opinions, I try to be nice when I don't like something because, real human people make video games, and it's unfair to really have a go, be mean about their games. So I hope that lends gravity to what I'm about to say, which is Umbrella Corps is an abomination of a video game that I wish I could take behind the shed and execute Old Yeller style.
Interesting.
It's so bad. It's such a bad video game. It's like some weird multiplayer shooter where it's but also there's a campaign, and all you do is you run around and you shoot zombies in this fast-paced tactical cover shooter, and you just collect samples off of dead zombies, and then you do that for like 15 levels, and apparently there's a story. And I tried to play the multiplayer, but like 5 people were playing it, and this was on launch day, so it was pretty difficult. So I didn't have a great deal of experience with this game, but the experience that I did have has left scars mentally.
So is this akin to like Metal Gear Survive? And
Worse. It's definitely worse than Metal Gear Survive.
But this was out before that, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was, yeah. Metal Gear Survive I would place in the bad but entertaining way.
Yeah.
Umbrella Corps made me hate video games for a couple of weeks after I finished playing it. This was the last game that came out before Resident Evil 7. Like, this was the bottom of the barrel as far as, like, the Resident Evil franchise. Like, this created the entire franchise. With good reason. I'm glad it did. Like, for anyone coming in here thinking Resident Evil 6 was the bottom of the barrel, boy, have I got some video games to tell you about. I've played too many. Anyway, sorry, I was having PTSD flashbacks. Let's check out what number 34 is. Oh, pretend you didn't see any of that. I pushed some buttons and stuff happened. Number 34.
That'd be cool. You didn't see anything.
The Paul W.S. Anderson Resident Evil movies 2 through 6. I didn't know they made 6 of these films. I'm not gonna lie. When I was doing research,
made 6.
When I was doing research for this list, I was like, there are 6 of these? I definitely haven't seen 6. And looking at these posters, I don't think I've watched any of these films all of the way through. Like, I've definitely seen bits and pieces of these films.
Why have you put 2 and 6 instead of 1 to 6?
You'll see. 1's not here. 2 to 6 is here.
Interesting.
These powers of deduction are kicked in, chat.
I also just want to know Paul W.S. Anderson did not direct Resident Evil Apocalypse.
Well, look, right? It's the same series. That just, like, this is the order that they were in on Wikipedia. And again, I didn't know they made 6 of them.
And let's be fair, this is the husband and wife team who put this together. They knew exactly what they were doing.
Like, again, it's one of those things where it's like, I saw enough to know that I hated it, but without ever actually watching a film from start to finish, because I feel like if I had watched all of these films, I might never have watched another film in my life. In fact, I might have just sworn off of Resident Evil altogether. Like, the most I got through one of these films, I can't tell you which one of these 5 films it was ironically before a charity stream, when we'd set everything up, and it was the night before, and we ordered pizza, and we were scrolling through the TV channels, and one of the Resident Evil movies was on, and I turned it on, and there were like characters that looked like characters from Resident Evil, but like weren't characters from Resident Evil. They just had the names. It was like they were wearing skins you buy in Fortnite. It was a very strange experience, and also a very terrible one. And these films have ended up at number 34.
Indeed.
It's not a surprise. Like, they really are some of the worst films of all time. Like, Paul W.S. Anderson, like, seriously, like, he for me is like the worst fucking director out there. He can't direct to save his fucking life. And I hate people who praise him or say, oh, Mortal Kombat was all right. No, it fucking wasn't either, all right?
No.
Settle down.
The best I would put Mortal Kombat, the highest I would put Mortal Kombat in this kind of ranking situation is bad, but in a funny way.
Yes. And Liu Kang's hair in that movie was stunning. I will have no bad words said against Liu Kang's hair in that movie.
And that ranking is going to depend on my mood on that specific day.
We all know what 33 is, Amy. We saw it.
Yeah, you all saw it. It's code. Now, it's specifically Resident Evil Code Veronica X. The X is important. So I'm only going to talk about Code Veronica X and the changes it made to Resident Evil Code Veronica, because when they released Resident Evil Code Veronica on the Dreamcast, they then when the Dreamcast died and had about 17 players, they released a follow-up, not a remake, it's just like a re-release. Sorry, I was looking in chat there. They did a re-release for PlayStation 2, which was Resident Evil Code Veronica X. Now, you might think, oh, they just ported it to a more popular platform. And that would have been great if they'd done that. I mean, I still would have hated it for reasons I'll get into later, but they made the baffling decision to decide that, you know what this game needs more of? Wesker pretending like he's in the Matrix. So, like, I don't know if you guys have played the original version of Code Veronica or Code Veronica X, but in Code Veronica X, Wesker's in it a lot more than he was originally, and he, like, his inclusion has to, like, work around, like, the cutscenes that were already in the game, and it kind of, like, obliterates the story of Resident Evil Code Veronica or what was already there. And also he just does, like, these weird, cool, like, Matrix stuff, because I guess the Matrix had just come out and was popular, so they were like, hey, he wears sunglasses indoors, like, let's make him more like Neo, but the bad guy with blonde hair.
Well, that's a strong mix.
Everything else about Resident Evil Code Veronica I'll talk about later, but the way they actively made a game I didn't like worse places it both in the Y category and at number 33.
Solid arguments.
Know that they were two different games. I didn't even realize there were two different games out there.
This is what I was
Like,
saying.
I
Moody.
had
I know
idea. I had no idea.
much.
Like, I always just say
She is
Code
burdened with
Veronica.
knowledge, Moody.
Yeah, I always just say Code Veronica. I never knew there was an X or a
Yeah.
Y, a Z, the whole shebang.
Well,
you
it was
know?
just, it's like, I know it's like, it sounds like it would be like Pokemon games where it's like
Yeah.
the same two games, but
X,
it's
Y, and
actually
Z.
not. Yeah, it's like there
They
was
just
Code,
forgot about the Z.
there was the Code Veronica, which was bad for a different reason, and then there
Yeah,
was
it sure
Code
was.
Veronica X, which still had that reason, but also Wesker.
So of all the things they could have changed, they didn't change that thing. They
It didn't change the other thing; they just added more stuff. Like they set Wesker on his path to total global saturation. You know, like the instead of just being like a cool bad guy who's bad because he wants to make money, which was more interesting than I'm going to destroy the world.
Yeah, a bit less trite.
Interesting. So I don't think I actually touched this one, and I'm thinking I must have done the original.
Oh, that's good. Save yourself from this one.
Is the original only on Dreamcast? Or did they really
No, I think when they've ported it across to like modern platforms, I'm pretty sure this is the version that they've ported.
Okay.
Also Steve, but we'll get into that later. Number 32. I've actually opened the slideshow on my phone so I can see what's coming now.
There you go.
Because I was like, there are interludes here somewhere. Number 32, and the final entry on the Y section of the list. Resident Evil Operation Raccoon City for the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3.
Wow.
Capcom looked at the Resident Evil franchise, which wasn't doing so well in this era of time. I mean, it was selling really well, but people hated it for some reason. They looked at their seminal survival horror classic formula and thought, what we need to do is we need to make this a bit like Left 4 Dead. And so they did that. And so Operation Raccoon City is a multiplayer co-op squad shooter where you play the bad guys in a what if scenario, like, you know, during the whole Raccoon City incident. So there's two campaigns where you play as, you know, the Umbrella Soldiers, and then there's also this other team of soldiers who are like, I think the good guys. I don't remember. It was a long time ago. And you just fight zombies in it. And like, be real with me here. You've played Resident Evil games before and after Operation Raccoon City. Like, the zombies in Resident Evil, like, when transposed to a fast-paced third-person shooter mechanics, like, how do you think that translated?
It doesn't, because they're kind of slow and shuffling, and they don't move that fast. I mean, fair enough, when they go and lunge for you, they've got a bit of speed on them that way, but then you can just run around and wipe the floor with them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And that's what
Also,
happened in this one.
So I haven't played this game, so I'm doing that awful thing and judging a book by its cover. But like Resident Evil has like an identity, and I'm just looking at the title treatment here and the font choices they decide to use. And it's like, okay, we've got a lineage of Resident Evil, and it's like block letters and all the rest of it. And they decided, you know what? No, we won't do any of that. We'll just throw it out and put this up there.
Oh yeah, this is the cover up. Also, I just saw
Roman looking us up.
I just saw Sen Nuggy's comment about not being familiar with Resident Evil. Besides streams I've seen, I am so sorry for the rest of this, for what's already happened and the rest of this stream. You're gonna know so much more than you ever wanted to know. This game is infamous for one thing, because it's an alternate timeline what if where you play as the bad guys. The bad guys campaign, you hunt down Leon, Claire, and Sherry during like what would have been Resident Evil 2, and at the end of the game, you have the option to execute Claire and Leon as like the final thing that happens in their campaign.
Nice.
So yeah, that was the
yeah.
that was definitely the most memorable thing that happened, apart from the game being awful. Anyway, you know what time it is now, gentlemen.
Hit us with it.
It's time for an interlude. Or would be if my thing worked. Number 1, the top 5 Resident Evil save room themes. Again, hashtag
I love
blame
this
Vitz.
already.
Now, you might think I'm just going to give you a list and tell you what the best save room themes in Resident Evil are, but this is an audio-visual presentation. I hope. It better be.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm loving the music. It's nice and chill. So this is the one I'm most familiar with from watching Let's Plays and whatnot. And
Sure.
Yeah.
Resident Evil 4 from 2005. Every time you saw, you know, the walked into the thing, you saw a typewriter, you heard this music, you're like, finally, a break from the action-packed gameplay. Also,
It's a little loud.
you can do that. Also, you might just need to turn your headphones down. But actually, it is a little loud. Sorry, my bad. Whee, there we go. Anyway, I'm just trying to chill you out before I move on to the rest of the presentation. Anyway, at number 4, Resident Evil, the GameCube remake, and the HD and now the HD remaster.
Just think that GOG has just released the original.
I know, right?
Yeah.
I forget what the original save room theme sounded like, because I've played this one 100 times.
For those who join us on youtube.com/wordsbackgamesuk, the little intro that played before we got into these shenanigans, this is the title where I took the track from to lay over the back of it.
Nice.
Nice.
And it's the 4th best save room theme in Resident Evil history.
I should have waited for this stream, but then I didn't want to spoil myself and lead in with number 1.
Exactly, right? It's like, how do you even know what number 1 is? You don't.
There you go.
Anyway, let's continue the chill vibes with number 3, Resident Evil 2, 1998. Iconic, some might say.
It is pretty iconic. There's no doubt.
It's it's not just relaxing. It's got that sort of melancholy, you know, everything is bad, but this is a moment for us to relax. Don't think about what's outside that door.
I was gonna say I know this room.
Everybody
Yeah,
knows
it's in the
this room.
police station. It's in the police station. It's the one under the stairs.
Yeah, but I also know what can come through.
Don't think about that. Just think about listen to music. Listen to
Yeah,
music.
that's it. Just be chill. We're there putting ribbon in the typewriter ready to save our game. It's all good.
Yeah, and there's handgun ammo in the drawers.
Yeah, there's a.
If you got the key,
storage
there's
box.
clothes in those loggers. If you have the keys.
Be chill,
I
Vitz. Be
remember.
chill. Exactly. See, be chill. Just be chill. Just be calm. Should we be even calmer with the second best Resident Evil?
Hit me with it.
I'm so glad this automatically playing music worked. By the way, I'm just going to throw that out there. I did not know if this part was going to work. Plot twist: it's Resident Evil Code Veronica.
Who saw this coming? Not me.
Oh, music is different to the game. Like Veronica, has good music. Like,
And this is a banger. This is incredible. Like, for all the shit I have given Code Veronica, and I'm about to give Code Veronica, like, this save room music is almost the best that Resident Evil ever was.
but what was the best?
I mean, Resident Evil 3 Nemesis, obviously. I couldn't put both versions of save. I couldn't put both versions in here because that's 2 different audio tracks. This is obviously the everything is fine, don't worry music, which is amazing, and I love it so much.
Yeah.
And I get it stuck in my head constantly. But there's also like the sinister, you know that Nemesis is like right outside the door, right?
Yeah.
Like
Doors.
Like as soon as you leave, you're gonna get punched in the head. Funny story. about Resident Evil 3 save room music is when I found out that there was a completely different kind of save room music, it was actually in this very room, which is funny. I walked in, I didn't know Nemesis was chasing me, and I didn't hear this music. I heard it's like a rumble. It's
You
like
screaming.
It's like a threatening thing. And this was when I was a kid. It was like the year 2000. I was like 15, 14, playing Resident Evil 3. And I was like, where's the music? That's weird. Oh, it must just be some kind of, like, glitch, you know? Like, yeah, you know, games
We
are
have those,
glitchy sometimes.
yeah.
We have glitches. But we got rid of them all in the modern generation. Don't worry about it.
Of course. Yeah, of course.
So, I just did my thing, opened the thing, the item box, threw the stuff in, saved my game, picked up the crank that you can see Jill Valentine standing next to. And then I opened the door. Nemesis was literally right on the other side of the door and punched me in the head, and I jumped so hard. If you remember, in the old days, controllers used to be attached to game consoles.
They sure did.
I jumped so hard, I pulled my PlayStation off of its shelf. And the game switched off.
Amazing.
Understandable. It was trying to save you. It was like, well, she's done for the night, so there.
Believe it or not, that was not the only time that happened. I might bring that story up a little bit later in the stream.
There you go.
Nice.
The other one is probably even funnier. But it was a literal jump scare, and Nemesis killed me so hard, he killed my entire game. Shall we move on?
If you're ready.
Since the music
We're ready.
is the music loop is ending.
The music loop is indeed fading away.
let's get to our next category. That's gonna be a yikes from me. I forgot that I deleted the word dog from this, but when I didn't
It's all
delete
good.
it from the intro thing. So yeah, you remember that thing I was talking about? Games that just make you do this face. Yeah, it's a short section of the list, but a memorable one for a variety of reasons. The first one, Moody already knows it's coming and why it's coming. I'm sure everybody does. It's Resident Evil Code Veronica, the original.
Yeah.
For this moment of the game that I don't like to think about in a game that I don't like to think about, to quote Claire Redfield, cross-dressing freak. Like, whoa, why are you coming out like that? It's a horrible moment in a horrible game that I hated every moment of. And I replayed it while I had COVID. And I hated it even more.
Yeah. There's no doubt, like, the game hasn't aged very well. So, like, I know, like, a lot of people, like, out there, like, screaming for, like, this to be remade and everything like that. If there is a remake, it does ever happen for it, they obviously have to look at it properly and, like, say, yo, this hasn't aged well. We got to change things up. They did that for the remake for 2 and 3. So, hopefully, if they do it,
I would like to think that they
do.
would, because it's not just like there's a moment where Claire says a thing to a person. It's like there's an entire plot twist. The entire plot itself hinges on the surprise of one of the villains being a cross-dresser. Please don't do that again.
Yes.
Thank you. And that's my number 31. I can get away with putting Code Veronica in here twice because there were technically 2 versions of the game and I played both of them.
But Amy, it's also your list, so
I can do whatever I want. Good point, Vitz.
absolutely.
And maybe I did do anything I wanted. Who knows? Anyway, should we get a number 30? Right, this one's going to require some run-up. Resident Evil 5. Because everybody's probably thinking, oh, Resident Evil 5 in a...
missing a picture.
Oh, I know. Resident Evil, there's a run-up to this one. Yeah, Resident Evil 5 in a, oh, that's a yikes from me, Doug. She's talking about the trailer. You know, the trailer that in 2009, when gamers weren't even aware of what racism was, because it didn't get invented until social justice was invented by Twitter, as we all know.
Of course.
There was a trailer that kicked off racism discourse. Now, to be fair, I don't know what Capcom were thinking with this trailer of a giant, muscled white man rampaging around Africa, stamping on black people's heads, saying, I've got a job to do, and I'm going to see it through. But there was the defense made that, you know, it's a game set in Africa. There are some black people in Africa. Chris Redfield has been a protagonist of Resident Evil before. And so, you know, maybe we'll give the game the benefit of the doubt. And it did turn out that there were some white villains in the game whose heads you stamped on. And
Or some
then...
boulders you punched so hard.
Spoilers. And then we all got to the middle of the game and we got on this boat and we went to this island and we met these motherfuckers.
Yeah.
And any benefit of the doubt about whether Capcom had made a game that was a bit racist or not flew out of the window faster than a boulder being punched by Chris Redfield. That wasn't an intentional joke. I just made that one up because you set me up for it, Vitz. Thank you for that. I don't know if I can really like do any more justice with words than the picture does as to why Resident Evil 5 is in this category off my list.
It's like they saw Ace Ventura and went, yes, all of it.
Yes. What if we topped Ace Ventura with this? Like, a picture says 1,000 words sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of a picture saying 1,000 words, should we talk about number 29 on this list?
Let's do it.
Let's talk about Resident Evil 6.
Yeah.
I had to censor an image for this.
Mm-hmm.
Now, admittedly, no, I wasn't a huge Resident Evil 6 fan to begin with. For many reasons that we are going to get to, that we are going to get to later in the podcast in this presentation, I promise. However, the reason it comes so low in this list, and the reason that it's, you know, in this category of the list, is for this boss fight against one of the character's sisters, who has been, Vitz, you might have to help me out here. I know you know this character. Kidnapped by the bad guy.
Yep.
Tortured by the bad guy. Turned into a monster by the bad guy. As you can see, she's grown some extra limbs. She's lost some clothes, as you do when you get turned.
As they do. That's what happens.
And you might
it's the
think,
first thing to go.
and you might think, oh, like, you know, it's the 2010s. Every female character in a video game was overly sexualized, especially the bad guys, because, you know, we live in a puritanical Christian system. That's a whole different presentation. But when you fight the
for
boss,
the next week, folks.
yeah, that's the next fundraiser.
Uh-huh.
When you fight the boss, she does. Help me out here, Vitz. How would you describe the dance that she does in the distance while you're shooting her with bullets?
Now, there's many words one could use here.
Sexualized, one word for sure.
Yes.
Kind of like rubs herself up and down.
Word. Yeah.
Yeah. I was going to put a YouTube clip here, but I thought we get banned.
Yeah, that's against the TOS for sure.
I mean, look at the picture I found. And yes, the angry emojis, I had to censor the boobies. Because we're on Twitch.
Danielle Z, how are you, my friend? She's in the chat.
Hello.
Hello.
Don't worry, the nightmare of
perfect time.
The nightmare of this section is over.
What a time to join the stream, though. Yeah, you're right.
I hope you missed
censored Resi 6 groups.
I hope you missed all of the context for this image, and also don't know what the context of this image is, and you just come in and thought, what's happening?
All you need to know is Amy hates boobs.
It's true. I hate them so much I grew my own. Anyway, should we do another interlude? We've got another interlude coming up. It's the top 5 Resident Evil protagonists. Why is everybody laughing?
Not you. Oh, bless them.
Why is everybody laughing?
No, Amy, you do you. You crack on.
I don't understand. This is a very serious presentation.
Of course, yeah. Straight faces
I just talked about racism like 5 minutes ago. Anyway, there is no audiovisual presentation for this part of it, so you're good.
But chat, friends, if those in chat, if you want to make your own song as we go through this interlude, then feel free.
Feel free. And you know what? Record some of it. Send it to Vitz on Twitter. Me and Moody on Twitter. Send it to Vitz on Twitter.
Apparently we're using hashtag blame Vitz for some reason.
Hashtag blame Vitz
Hashtag
on Twitter.
Vitz.
He'll see them all. and then he'll play them for us on the next podcast. Anyway, the number 5 Resident Evil protagonist is Tofu. It's a big block of tofu with a police hat on it.
Yep.
Why wouldn't it?
Seem to be found swinging through the streets of New York City as Spider-Man.
You know what? Tofu has more personality than about half of the Resident Evil protagonists that are in the entire series. So, you know, he gets to number 5.
I'm not mad at this choice, yeah?
Tofu exists so that... Tofu exists because in Resident Evil 2 they made a square box to test the hitboxes of, like, running past zombies. And then they decided to leave the box in as a piece of tofu, as, like, a secret mode if you beat the game A scenario, the B scenario, and the hung scenario. You could do it with it. You could then escape as a big block of tofu. And I think that was an amazing choice. And I'm so thankful there are people in our chat right now who have no idea of anything about Resident Evil. And I get to show them images like this. Anyway, number 4, Claire Redfield from a bunch of Resident Evils. I mean, Claire Redfield's just cool. She's a badass. She gets more badass as time goes on. Like, the canon of the Resident Evils gets a bit weird because, like, to understand what most of the characters are doing, you kind of have to, like, watch films. Not the Paul W.S. Anderson films.
Yeah, don't watch those films. Don't watch those.
And, like, play games like Revelations to understand, like, what happened to Claire after Code Veronica. But, like, she decides to take the humanitarian approach, whereas everybody else just decides to get really jacked and shoot everything. Like, as Resident Evil goes on, Claire's like, no, I'm going to, like, help people. And I find that more badass than, you know, punching boulders in a volcano, personally. There are going to be a lot of Chris Redfield drive-bys in this presentation. I do not like Chris Redfield. Spoiler alert. Anyway. And yes, the hat of tofu is the best part. Number 3, Leon S. Kennedy, specifically Resident Evil 4 Leon S. Kennedy. Like, I think if you...
My favorite Backstreet Boy member ever.
If you put all of his other game appearances in there, it's like, I don't know if he's a number 3 material, but it's purely in Resident Evil 4 for, like... He accidentally wanders into the cheesiest action movie, like, the 80s has never produced.
Yes.
And he rises to that challenge in that game with some of the coolest one-liners in video games. Like, Moody watched me stream the first part of Resident Evil 4 Remake, and I said, I'm turning this game off if Leon doesn't say, where's everybody going? Bingo. And he said it, and I didn't turn the game off.
He did.
There's no doubt, yeah, they improved on him a lot from, like, 2, because you don't see him again until after 2, you don't see him until Resi 4 and everything, so it's like, yeah, he's definitely more improved, more of a relatable, likable kind of character type of thing, like, and who doesn't like one-liners, so...
Everybody loves one-liners and cheese.
This is the man who will turn down a cigarette in the car because smoking will kill you, but will eat a random snake egg that he finds on the floor, no problem.
Yeah, or throw it at an enemy. You can do that too. Why not?
Exactly. Just before you German suplex him.
Oh shit! I'm out of bullets. Have an egg. Like,
yeah,
that's the kind of sandbox level style freedom that I'm looking for in video games. And Resident Evil 4 delivered. That's all I'm going to say on that for now.
While everyone's going Matalo at you.
Exactly. And like they've got pitchforks and they're really angry and I don't know why. Maybe it's got something to do with colonialism. Anyway,
yes.
Number 2, potentially a controversial choice. It's Ethan Winters.
Oh, come on, Ames. You can't be doing this. Oh, okay. Right, I'm with you. You had me in the first half.
Well, he loses them a few times.
So. I was going to say he loses them in the first half. Let's be fair. Is there another Resident Evil protagonist that goes through as much trauma and pain as Ethan Winters' hands in Resident Evil 7 and Resident Evil 8?
I don't know. I think that he's leading the pack with that one. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but he also found the easiest cure: pick it back up, pour water, or
stick
whatever.
That's it. And then
on the wrist and stick your hand back on, and it just started to work.
But also, he also glued his sleeve and shirt back on as well.
Ethan Winters' hands is responsible for one of my favorite moments in Resident Evil history, which, and again, I was playing this in Resident Evil 7 in virtual reality, being able to look down at your severed hand, pick it up, and put it in your inventory. I found that a really great moment where it's just like, hey, can I pick my hand up? Yeah, of course you can pick your hand up. In fact, you should pick your hand up. You're going to need to fucking glue that back on later with green herbs. On a watch. And anything else would be Resident Evil Village spoilers. And also at the moment where his hand gets cut off by the big vampire lady while he's pulling the switch, I paused the game. I was laughing so much on stream.
Yeah. Shout out to Lady Dimitrescu.
Shout out to Lady Dimitrescu. Shout out to doing the image on the bottom row of Mia stabbing Ethan and him catching it with his. Shout out to that moment in VR. That was amazing.
Now,
Anyway.
I've often said you're infinitely braver than I am, but ain't no way I'm playing this in VR.
It's very scary.
You're a mad woman.
There's a clip on Capcom's Twitter from years and years ago of me playing the demo in VR at EGX, and I swore, and you can tell, even though there's no sound. Anyway, number 1.
Yes.
The number 1 protagonist. Listen, right? Capcom had a choice at the end of Resident Evil 1. Who are we going to make the de facto protagonist of the Resident Evil series? Shall we choose this fucking boring Chris Redfield guy who doesn't really do that much in Resident Evil 1? Or should we choose this badass Jill Valentine who can use a railgun, by the way? And what they chose was the wrong choice, right? Chris Redfield would have got fucking destroyed by Nemesis. And just throwing it out there.
True.
He wouldn't have stood a chance. Jill Valentine is giving him one-liners. Even more one-liners in the remake than in the original. And, you know, the best closing line of any Resident Evil, I'll give you stars. Which he says in both versions of the game. I have both versions of that line in the screenshots.
Yeah, it's that's an interesting choice because I don't think she's actually a great character either. Like, I think both her and Chris Redfield are really bland.
In Resident Evil 1, they're all really bland.
Yeah.
See, I thought you were going, it was an interesting choice for her to go blonde in Resident Evil 6. I wasn't on board with that one.
I mean, it was 5, but...
Oh, sorry.
I mean, you know, you're hitting a sore subject there. Because, like, Chris Redfield gets to stomp around on steroids in Africa being racist. And where's Jill the entire time? Oh, she's been mind-controlled and turned into a sexy blonde bombshell in a skin-tight catsuit by Wesker because we need sex appeal in our video game.
Of course.
If she wasn't such a badass in the animated films that followed Resident Evil 5, I would never have forgiven Capcom. But, luckily... she's a badass. You can see the animated from where she's standing back to back with Leon in the middle from Death Island. We'll talk about Death Island later. Jill Valentine is amazing in that film, though. Also, here's a fun niche fact. In the very original Resident Evil 1, Wesker actually dies in Chris's version of the campaign. Doesn't, like, get knocked over and disappear mysteriously. But he does get knocked over and disappear mysteriously in Jill's original version of the campaign of Resident Evil 1. Therefore, Jill should have been Wesker's nemesis. Also for all the shit he did to Barry. Because, like, that would piss me off. If he, like, manipulated one of my best friends into almost killing me.
Yeah, there is that.
I feel like that's nemesis-worthy material. But instead, she just vanished.
Yeah.
Anyway. That was our next interlude. How do you think it's gone so far?
I think it's going amazingly. We've got the master unlocking here at number 1. What's there not to love?
Well, if you think it's going amazingly, I'm afraid I'm going to have to take the mood down because we're up to the just bad section of the list.
Poor Michael Scott.
We're going to turn it all the way down with number 28. Resident Evil, Welcome to Raccoon City. This film met my expectations perfectly. I didn't think it was going to be very good, and it wasn't very good. That's it. That's my review of Resident Evil Welcome to Raccoon City.
I mean, sure. What more do you need?
It would have ended up in the okay, whatever, I guess, like, because it doesn't really garner that much of a strong opinion like from me, except it is a bad film that I didn't like. And this is my list, so I can put it wherever I want.
Never seen it, so I can't comment on it.
This needs the KFA treatment. I feel like I'm in an episode of KFF. Number 27, the Resident Evil Survivor series.
Okay.
Have you ever wondered in your life? You've played, if we've all played light gun games, right? Like in an arcade or
Yeah.
on an old console.
Time Crisis.
Yeah, you shoot the gun at the screen, and that's the fun. The fun part is, like, the games aren't well made, but the fun part is you get to shoot the gun at the screen. Have you ever wondered what would happen if somebody made a game like that, but without being able to use a light gun? Because if you've ever wondered,
that'd be the worst idea ever.
if you've ever wondered that, the Gun Survivor series is for you, my friends, because that's... And Moody, there's even a Dino Crisis spin-off version of this series.
Sold.
No, thank you.
These are 3 games that, like, take the writing and voice acting of Resident Evil 1 and combine it with the worst first-person shooting mechanics you've ever experienced in your life. Like, Resident Evil Survivor is the answer to the question, what if a first-person shooter had tank controls? And that's not a question I particularly wanted to ask. Or have an answer.
Not
ever. Yeah, so Resident Evil Survivor, the original, was supposed to be a light gun game, but it was releasing like right after the Columbine High School shooting incident massacre thing. And out as a sign of respect, Capcom didn't delay their first-person shooter, but did remove the ability to use a light gun with it. Which is an interesting choice. Out of respect. They still released the game where you shoot a bunch of things.
Yeah.
In the face. It's a horrible...
Do you reckon they probably had a moment where they said, okay, this is a really tragic event, we won't release the game. Can we just wait it out? And then the horrific events never stopped. And I was like, okay, we've got to do something. We've got to put this game out. They should take out the light gun element and ship it.
No, it was very, very... I'm thinking it was like a week or 2, if I'm remembering my history correct. It wasn't very long after that the game came out. What was interesting was, though, they released a sequel that also didn't have light gun support. Like, you'd think in the sequel they would add the light gun support back in. They didn't do that. And then either for Dead Aim, the third one. But I do want to draw specific attention to the box art of Dead Aim, which makes me really uncomfortable to look at. And I can't put my finger on why.
I think it's the protagonist's hair is a lot of it.
His head doesn't look like it fits.
The gun kind of looks like it's an asset from a different game to the character model.
Yeah. But also, it's a pretty badass name, Dead Aim.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Survivor. Yeah, sure.
Yep.
Survivor 2 makes sense. Dead Aim. Yeah, of course. Like, these are good names. It's just a shame about the names.
Yeah, shame about the rest of it.
Yeah. Anyway. Are you ready for what's probably going to be my first controversial opinion of me calling a game bad? Actually, my second. People really like Code Veronica.
Hit us with it.
Number 26, Resident Evil Revelations 2. It's bad. It's a bad game.
Okay.
I thought this was always bad. I don't understand.
People like this game, and a certain unnamed podcast co-host I used to co-host a podcast with didn't agree with me on my opinion of this game. It was to make a reference that Moody will understand. It was an Assassin's Creed Origins level event when I decided I didn't like this game.
He gave it a 7 out of 10, did you?
I don't think I was given scores. I definitely would have given it less. I get where they're coming from with a 2-player co-op Resident Evil experience, right? You know, like, hey, do this with a friend. And also, like, the thing that was good about Revelations 2 was, like, as the main series was moving more towards action with Resident Evil 5 and 6, this was more of a slow-paced survival horror. I mean, it was still an action game, which is what kind of made it worse, but I like the attempt. The issue comes from what Player 2 does in this game. So Player 1 is Claire Redfield, for the most part. There's also, like, Barry Burton returns in this game. That's another reason why people like it. But Player 2 in this game holds a torch.
I mean,
And like,
Oh, sorry. I was waiting for the rest of the sentence in terms of hold the torch and it's no, that's all of it. Okay.
shines the torch. And that's how you see items. You
Ah.
know how items glitter in Resident Evil?
Yeah.
Well, in this, like, to see the items, you have to shine the torch on them, and player 2 holds the torch.
That's a game design.
While player 1 does all of the shooting. Yeah, this wasn't... And also, this was an episodic game. Remember those? Resident Evil Revelations 2 tried to be episodic. Yeah, there was a lot of choices made in the making of Resident Evil Revelations 2.
Interesting.
I don't understand any of them. Anyway, let's move on. There's only one more just bad game, and it's Resident Evil 0. Kind of like the flip reverse of Revelations 2, where it was like this game really should have been co-op, but wasn't. And probably something to do with hardware limitations or whatever. It was a classic Resident Evil adventure. Where they asked the question, what would happen if we took away the item boxes? Because people make fun of us because they're like all linked and it doesn't make sense. It's like, and it turns out if you do that, you have to drop everything on the floor and remember where it all is. And if you need it, you need to go back and get it. And yeah, I never finished this game.
Okay,
yeah. They definitely made some choices when it came to gameplay, when it came to 0. There's no doubt about that. Where like there's no boxes, like, and you don't have enough to be able to carry everything, and yeah, it is really, really bad choice in for that. Like I can understand, like again, just like with the Veronica part, like wanting for a remake, but they need to do massive changes to the gameplay and everything to really get this to get back up to into a decent state for when it comes to gameplay, because the gameplay is really shoddy when it comes to that. Like I think the 2-player aspect or 2-character aspect is pretty decent, even though we haven't seen any of them since then and everything.
Rebecca's been in the films, but yes, they both did disappear, and that does lead me to an interesting plot quagmire that Resident Evil 0 throws up, but we'll get to that later in the presentation.
Good wordage, yeah. Quagmire.
I love the word quagmire.
Doesn't she show up in 1?
Yes.
She does, yeah.
Yes, that's the quagmire. We'll get there.
After doing all this badassery, I think you find her, and then she's like, curled up in a corner crying or something.
We'll get to that quagmire. Anyway, look, I just went through a bunch of bad games and why they're bad, and I figure I just you bring the mood down when you complain about stuff for too long. So I thought, for the next interlude, let's have a bit of fun with the top 5 greatest lines of dialogue from Resident Evil 1996.
Let's fucking go.
Oh, no.
But it gets better, Moody. Oops.
Chris!
I have audio.
Stop it. Don't open that door.
Amazing.
That's the first scene. That is letting you know what you're in for with that line delivery. Would you like to hear it again?
No.
Yes.
I heard
different opinions here.
I heard a yes.
Damn you, Vitz.
Stop it. Don't open that door.
It's like they did a separate record or separate line read for every single word of that sentence and then just stitched them together.
They did. Now, this one was all about delivery. The next one is all about content. The order in which lines are spoken is important for number 4. Also, for some reason, they have a special outfits on. I don't know. I was just finding things on YouTube. Anyway, listen.
It's me, Chris.
Is that you?
I know this one very well.
Well, you wanted me to turn it down before. Yeah, we'll try it again.
It's me, Chris.
Is that you, Rebecca?
What do you think?
We should do the next podcast in that cadence.
It's me, Vitz. Is that you, Amy?
That's it. Also, if you want to see, speaking of special outfits, if you want to see some very special outfits, check out the one and only Nitro Rifle, Andy Cortez, play Resident Evil 5 with a good friend of the show, Ray Navarez Jr. And Andy's just playing in a completely normal outfit. It's absolutely fine what Chris Redfield's wearing. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, for everybody out there in chat or like in YouTube land, if you're watching the VOD, like, I hope if you are familiar with Resident Evil, I hope I'm bringing back a lot of fun memories. Anyway, we've still got 3 more lines of dialogue to go. Let's start with number 3. Again, content of this line is quite questionable, but I'll just let the clip roll.
Just a moment. I found something.
What is it?
It's a weapon. It's really powerful, especially against living things. Better take it with you.
It's really powerful, especially against living things.
Hell yeah.
The delivery is incredible, as all delivery in Resident Evil 1 is. 1, they're not fighting living things. 2,
Yeah, I was going to say it's undead.
all weapons are, in fact, really powerful against living things. That's what makes them weapons. And 3 is talking about a grenade launcher. That's powerful against anything.
Yeah, this is true.
Barry Burton is apparently, according to the game manual, the weapons expert of the STARS team.
I mean, that's how he knows. It's really powerful.
Just to
against
sprinkle
living
some
things.
more flavor on that line. Yeah, I went for the deep cuts with this list because I remember them all.
Yeah.
You know, there's Jill sandwiches and there's Master of Unlocking, and then there's whatever the fuck the rest of these are. This next one doesn't have a video to attach.
Just a moment.
Attached to
I
it.
found.
I couldn't find video of it. It's just the audio. Please enjoy.
I'm sorry for my lack of manners, but I'm not used to escorting men.
That was Albert Wesker talking to Chris Redfield and Rebecca Chambers. Let's play it again.
Yeah.
I'm sorry for my lack of manners, but I'm not used to escorting men.
I have no words.
Yeah.
And that's only number 2.
Shit.
Number 1 has lived in my head rent-free since the 1990s. Everything about this is perfect.
I'm sorry for my lack
Not
of
this
manners.
one, obviously. This one.
Oh, Jill, this house is dangerous. There are terrible demons. Ouch!
You're wounded. What kind of demon attacked you?
It was a huge snake and also poisonous.
Poisonous? Oh no.
Special shout out to the music for really elevating that scene.
Yeah. I mean, when you come to stay when we go to the Final Fantasy concert, that's how we're going to greet you when you walk in. I'm just going to be laid on the ground saying, "This house."
There are terrible demons. Ouch.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't know. I'm looking at Richard in this scene, and I'm like, ouch. Is that the choice we're going to go with in terms of words, like word choice for describing that injury? Feel free to laugh as loud as you want, Lauren.
100%.
We're going to play that one again for you all.
Oh, Jill, this house is dangerous. There are terrible demons. Ouch!
You're wounded. What kind of demon attacked you?
It was a huge snake and also poisonous.
Poisonous? Oh
Oh no.
And also,
Poisonous. I just like that she rolls with demons straight away. It's just like, demons? What kind of demons?
yeah.
Like, oh fuck! I thought we were fucked when I was fighting zombies and dogs. Now you're telling me there's demons in here?
I'm gonna recut this and just have it go, and also Piranha, and just enter Andy and see what it does.
Do it. Absolutely. Anyway, this is probably going to play again when I click it. Let's move on to our next section. There is an interlude coming up in this section of the... I believe it's in this section. It might be in the next section. We'll find out. Anyway, I did place an interlude in here somewhere. So this next section is bad, but like in a funny way. So also kind of good, I guess. Like, they're not good. And I would never call them good without an asterisk, which is these things were bad, but I also found myself entertained by them. And the first one is the film Moody correctly identified as being missing from the last set of films, which is Paul W.S. Anderson's first Resident Evil movie, which was bad.
This one I have seen.
But also in an entertaining way. Like,
I get it. I do understand that. I get it.
If nothing else, it gave us the laser trap in Resident Evil 4. And
This is
also,
true.
like, it was a very good laser trap. Like, you know, sliced the guy up, and like that one guy jumped and got this ankle sliced off. It was great. It was great. I'm glad everybody's crying. Just looking at the chat. And like, you know, she does that thing where she runs and she jumps off the wall and she like kicks the dog in the head. And Michelle Rodriguez was in it. So, you know,
She was.
it had its moments for sure.
I mean, I remember watching this movie and I had one of several questions. So this lady's Alice. She shops at the same place that Ada Wong does. I thought that was interesting because she's got her dress for some reason. But yeah, you're right. The laser trap scene where your man gets sliced and then you think he's okay and then all of his parts start falling down.
Yeah,
that was cool.
Yeah, that was
What I think is funny with the poster is that she's carrying a big ass gun. If I remember rightly, she never
uses that
once.
gun. No, she doesn't. You are correct, Moody. Yeah, Paul W.S. Anderson's first Resident Evil movie, and you might be thinking, where are we going to go from there to another audio-visual presentation? Number 23, George Romero's Biohazard 2 TV commercials. That's right, George Romero, director of Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, etc., made TV commercials in Japan, specifically in Japan, for Resident Evil 2. Let's watch them.
Yes.
Biohazard 2.
And if you think
Amazing.
that was something,
Biohazard 2.
directed by George A. Romero. Only ever released in Japan.
I mean, I can see why.
Exactly.
Like, you know exactly what kind of game you're getting from that, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Anyway, it's gonna do the thing. Where could we possibly be going next? So we've talked about games, we've talked about TV commercials, we talked about films. Let's talk about manga. There was Resident Evil manga.
Wow.
And I read it. And it's called Heavenly Island. Would you like to know what the plot of Resident Evil Heavenly Island is?
So much.
It's this. This is the plot of Resident Evil Heavenly Island. This is an encapsulation of everything. If you imagine some zombies in amongst this crowd of supermodels, you go to an island to shoot a TV show, but oh no, zombies turn up, and also Claire Redfield, because, you know, you've got to have a Resident Evil character in it, otherwise it's not really Resident Evil. It's 6 volumes of this manga. You can't buy it in the UK. You can't actually buy physical versions of this in English. It was translated and released online.
Okay.
But for some reason, you can buy it in German.
I mean,
That's not surprising
Sure.
to me at all. That's
The one localization they did. Germany.
yep.
No angry face emojis here. I mean, everybody's boobs are mostly covered.
I was a joke. The whole thing of this being Resident Evil and zombies are a thing and they bite you, so you're inclined not to expose flesh where you could get bitten.
Well,
And now we have this.
I mean, you got to understand, they were there to shoot a supermodel show on the beach. They
Right,
weren't like
that's where I'm going
the
wrong.
zombies were unexpected, and like it's hot, you gotta dress appropriately for the weather.
Apparently, yeah.
Apparently.
It's scorchy out there.
Yeah. Shout out to the one lady in the middle who's bending over for no reason.
She's picking up the floaty ring thing.
Sure, of course.
It's heavy, apparently.
Clearly, it's going to be useful for against the zombies. Like, absolutely. Can you see my mouse on screen? You can. I'm also loving this weird ensemble that we've got going on here with the like attached by a ring thing that's going on. Like, that is very interesting. I mean, also they didn't quite finish the lines on some of the clothes on this.
They must have got distracted.
On this panel. It's hard to know what they could have possibly been distracted by. Honestly.
you could say.
But anyway, we've got one more in this section. Now, it's Resident Evil Director's Cut, the DualShock Edition.
Ooh.
Now, Resident Evil came out. We will be taking a break after this. I put an interlude in later, but we will take a break after this. We'll end on a high. Resident Evil 1, 1996, PlayStation 1, absolute classic. Everybody loved it. Played it, loved it. A whole franchise was spawned that still remains to this day. They re-released the game as a director's cut a year later when they realized Resident Evil 2 was taking too long to make. To really capitalize on Resident Evil's popularity. That game came out, everybody loved it. It was like, it had some like changes to the game. Resident Evil Director's Cut DualShock Edition was released with DualShock support, so you could use the analog sticks. Why you'd want to do that in a Resident Evil game, I don't know. But it was a third edition of the game, and one of the changes they made to, you might notice there's a play button.
Yep.
One of the changes they made to the Resident Evil game was the soundtrack. I need everybody out there, do me a favor, clear your mind of everything. Imagine you're in a spooky mansion. You've just walked down a corridor, down some stairs, and you've walked into a spooky basement. Now it's spooky. You've already seen zombies, you know there's monsters and everything like that. Imagine, for me, what your spooky ambiance music would be for walking into a spooky basement.
Yep.
If you've got that locked in your head. And
Spooky times up here.
I want to know if it sounds anything like this.
No, that horns wasn't what I was thinking. Is that okay? We're gonna get the horn section, and we're gonna make it depressed.
We're going to get the horn section and throw it down the stairs.
Yes.
Interesting.
Now you might think, oh, what a meme! What a great meme! No. This was actually in the game. There's a whole story.
They took out the iconic. They changed a bit of the iconic soundtrack with putting this in.
They changed all of it. I had many examples I could have used for incredible music that was in the Resident Evil Director's Cut DualShock Edition. I decided to go with one. This one. It goes on for a minute.
Wow.
And loops if you're in the game.
Interesting.
Yeah. There's a whole story behind this soundtrack that I'm not going to go into here because it's a very long story, but it is incredibly funny. So for homework, if you look up Resident Evil Director's Cut DualShock Edition soundtrack on a search engine, you'll be able to find the whole story, and it is wild what happened and why the soundtrack ended up this way.
I mean, after you sift through all the AI results, which have nothing to do with what you searched.
Sure,
but yeah,
sure,
then
sure.
you'll find the whole story.
it. You'll find it somewhere. Right, we're gonna take a break. I feel like now is a good time to take a quick stretch of our legs.
Yeah.
Let me get my breath back. Let me like recenter myself because we're out of the woods now. We're out of the bad part of the of the list. We've only got 20 games left. Hello, everybody. We are back.
Hey, hey, hey.
Bonk. There we go. Anyway, back to the presentation. How's everybody doing?
Very good.
Hope everybody's having fun.
This is a blast. Thank you so much for putting this together, Ames.
Hey, no problem. We are still dropping frames, which is concerning. Because I don't know why. How's the stream on everybody else's end?
The stream is good for me. We're
Looks
no
fine
longer
for
getting
me.
messages about switching to low latency mode or anything like that. So I think it should be all good.
Yeah, looks fine to me on my end. So,
Well then, if nobody has any complaints, yeah, I was just saying to the guy at Vitz there, like that I watched that video yesterday, like the second one, and it nearly made me cry while I was watching it. Anyway, we've got a lot of slides left to go. Hopefully, we're going to accelerate through some of these really quickly. I say hopefully, like I don't know if we are or not. But we're
Stream is still seeing the video. You know that, right?
Probably because it's dropping frames. It's probably because it's been dropping frames. They'll catch up to us eventually. Maybe it's the basement music has killed the stream, which is too much.
Maybe.
Yeah, I've refreshed it and it's just at the end of the video, so
Okay.
I mean I can't pause the stream.
No, of course.
yeah, I've just refreshed it and literally just got to the end of the stream. So.
Yeah, so we'll just keep going. Yeah, we'll just be a bit behind. Anyway, let's move on to our next interlude, which is where we were up to. No, we're not going to listen to the basement music again. Top 5 best villains in Resident Evil. Nice little pair up with our top 5 protagonists of Resident Evil. Yeah, let's crack on. So, at number 5, top 5 best villains of Resident Evil, Mr. X. Makes sense, right? Like when the remakes came out, this was all anyone was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
This man in his hat, and if you shoot his hat off, he walks faster, which is terrifying. And I do enjoy the fact that he always walks; he never runs. I feel like that's more threatening, even though, like, obviously running would be a faster pace. Oh, we stopped dropping frames. That's excellent. Now I can concentrate on the stream. Yeah, number 5, best villain in Resident Evil. Also, a villain that doesn't talk. I feel like in Resident Evil, that is a big advantage with the villains and how I feel about them.
Oh, yeah. Hell yeah.
Yeah. The more words they say, the worse they are.
Can you imagine if he was like, X gonna give it to you? It's just marching towards
singing.
you.
He was just rapping on his way towards you.
Yeah. I like that there's an achievement for shooting his little hat off as well.
Yeah, don't shoot his hat off. He moves faster if you do that. No, number 4.
More aerodynamic.
No, yeah. No, number 4, best villain in Resident Evil, Cassandra Dimitrescu from Resident Evil Village.
One of the daughters.
For the
Yeah.
Well, a particular daughter. Is that
That's
right?
interesting. That's interesting.
for the plot.
Yeah,
For the plot.
of course.
For the plot.
The plot.
Number 3, best villain of Resident Evil, Bella.
I know where this is going already.
From Resident Evil Village. Like, I just feel like my life would be better if I could explode into a swarm of insects and kill my enemies. So I really relate to this villain in particular.
Yeah.
Number 2, best villain of Resident Evil, Daniela Dimitrescu.
Mm-hmm.
Fun fact. Same
I
voice.
wonder who's number 1.
Same voice actor as Jill Valentine, Resident Evil 3 remake.
Oh, really? That's awesome.
That's interesting. Oh, that's really kind of.
Which is actually number 2. And like, okay,
Explains
so
everything.
everybody's probably guessed it. You know, the number 1 best villain of Resident Evil, it's Nemesis, obviously. Where do you think I was going with this? Like,
I see the look in your face, Moody. You were making character judgments there.
Like,
I'm still waiting for the plot twist.
what? How dare you?
Yes, indeed.
How dare me, yeah?
Yeah, how dare you?
Yeah.
Nemesis from Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Like, such a great villain in the Resident Evil canon. Again, one word, stars. The more words villains say in Resident Evil, the worse they get. For the most part. Apart from, obviously, the Dimitrescu stars. But, yeah, like, getting chased by this guy when I was a kid, terrifying. Which brings me to my second jump scare story. So, I was playing this with my friend, for the very first time. And, you know the bit where you're in the police station in the original game? And, like, he jumps through the window. So, you come down the bottom of the stairs, and we stopped. Because the music does that thing it does I was talking about in the safe rooms, where it's like, some shit's going to go down here. It's like, this isn't the police station music. And we were too scared to go forward for a minute. And so, also, yes, he does have a lot of teeth in this concept art. And so we were like, okay, we're building ourselves up to take the step forward, not knowing that he was going to jump through the window. And when we finally summed up the courage to take one step forward, Nemesis jumped through the window, like cannonballed through the window. At the exact same moment that right outside my window in the garden, somebody turned their drill on. And the PlayStation came off of the shelf.
Yeah.
For the first time.
Oh, for the first time, this one, eh? Not
Yeah,
again.
well, this was the first jump scare. That really got me. Anyway, we should probably move on to our next category of Resident Evil games, which is not this.
How did that get in there?
Oh, what a
Where did this come
surprise.
from? Oh, I must have put some, like, I didn't make the. Hold on, there's just some kind of technical problems. If you just bear with me a second,
Yeah.
We'll get through them
problems
eventually.
whatsoever.
Yeah, no,
I bet we do.
I don't know
bet
where
we
these
do.
pictures came from. I didn't put them in the slideshow.
Yeah.
Amy's been hacked.
I've been hacked. Anyway, here we go. Michael Scott. That's who I really wanted to see right now.
There you go.
That was the only bit of rehearsal I did for this entire stream. Was keeping a straight face during that moment.
Amy, take a drink, not because she's thirsty, because she is thirsty. Come on.
Because I'm thirsty, and because I'm thirsty. Anyway,
Exactly.
let's talk about some Resident Evil games. This section's probably going to go over quite quickly because it's, okay, whatever, I guess. And as I explained at the top of the stream, these are games that games and other media that exhibit, like, I don't really have strong opinions about. I've experienced them, and those experiences happened. Anyway, let's start with number 20, Resident Evil Gaiden, or Gaiden.
It'll be Gaiden, yeah. Gaiden.
Which was a top-down game released for the Game Boy Color, where you play as Leon S. Kennedy on a boat, and there are zombies on the boat, and the combat switches to first person. And we've already talked about first person. But Resident Evil on a boat was an interesting enough idea that I give it a pass and put it to the okay, whatever, I guess. It was one of the few Game Boy games I've ever played in my life. Like, it would probably be in my top 10 Game Boy games of all time, just by default.
Yes.
Because I probably played less than 10. So number 19, Resident Evil 3, 2020 remake. Yeah, okay, whatever, I guess. Didn't like it very much, but...
Yeah, that one didn't click with you at all, did it? Yeah, sadly.
My strong
Joel's
opinion...
friend, the hair on this man, no bueno.
I have two strong opinions about this game. Number one, Jill Valentine is fucking amazing in this game. And number two relates to an infamous Time magazine article that came out before Resident Evil 3 2020, whose headline read, the Resident Evil 3 remake is the chance to fix the franchise's weakest game.
Oh, yeah.
Which I had
took you down a rabbit hole.
I had an extreme reaction to, and I like to think I don't have to justify that extreme reaction here, 20 games later, as to why Resident Evil 3 is in fact not the weakest entry in the franchise. But yeah, no, this one didn't really click with me. I thought the Nemesis was really disappointing. I thought the things that they cut were really disappointing. But Jill Valentine was amazing. So
Yeah,
also,
they cut a lot.
Nemesis
cut a
has
lot
a lot
from
of
this
teeth in this
game.
one as well. Sorry,
It
yes,
does.
yes,
It
they
does.
did cut a lot, yes.
Yeah, which was disappointing. Like, especially how much they marketed like crazy that Nemesis is coming for you, you're going to die type of thing, and whatnot. And I think that was I think it worked really well, the marketing part of it, because it's basically just the same as the Resi Village, just all eyes on Demetress.
Yeah.
And this
As
was
it should
all
be.
eyes on Nemesis and whatnot, which
All
I
eyes on
think they did. It
Demetress.
was, yeah, which was literally was like, I thought was like spot on and everything. But yeah, like I'm sure we'll get to that game later on, but the remake of 2 was so well received and loved. This one is I have a high opinion of it compared to Amy for this, but like, yeah, it is lower on the chart even for me. So like, yeah, I think it's a fair addition for you.
Cool.
Rudy approves.
Number 8, again, Jill Valentine is the only reason this is higher on the list. Number 18. S.D. Perry's Resident Evil novelizations. Yes, these exist, and I've read all of them. The Resident Evil story isn't good, so trying to novelize it is interesting. But in fairness to the novelizations, they only got to Resident Evil 0. And Code Veronica is where the Resident Evil story really went off the rails. So the first ones, which adapt Resident Evil 1, 2, and 3, and do a couple of... There were a couple of original stories in here as well. They're all just kind of like whatever, because the stories of the original Resident Evil games were kind of like whatever. Like, they hadn't yet gone completely insane. So yeah, the novels were just kind of like, yeah, okay.
So can I ask, were the this image that we're looking at, were these reprints? Because they seem to be using artwork from the remakes.
These are reprints, yes.
Okay, fine.
Yes, the original novels did not look... The ones that I owned when I was younger did not look like this.
Okay, good. Right, okay, fine.
Yes, funnily enough, they did adapt Resident Evil 0 in the book 0 Hour, which was the last of the novels that was released. The second one was called Resident Evil Caliban Cove, and also starred Rebecca Chambers in a story that is completely invalidated by Resident Evil 0. So the fact that they're both part of the same novelization series is fascinating. There is so much more Resident Evil than I ever realized. You have no idea.
We're not all the way to the bottom of the rabbit hole yet, friends.
Still got 17 more things left, yeah. Number 17, Resident Evil Outbreak and Outbreak File 2. These were online multiplayer games that did not release in Europe with online multiplayer available.
I will say, yeah. I remember Outbreak. Outbreak was fun, yeah.
Yeah, like, it was fine for a Resident Evil game, but it was also built around being able to play the multiplayer, and I couldn't play the multiplayer, so I was kind of like, okay, the core component of these games is kind of missing for me right now, which is why I feel like if I could have played them cooperatively with someone else, it might have bumped them higher up the list. I own both of them, but sadly, they never turned on the multiplayer for Europe, which is a shame.
For Europe.
You can actually tell because I've found the Europe version of the box art on the first game, which does not mention online multiplayer, but the North American version of the box art for the second game, which does say it's online.
Yeah.
I did not do that on purpose. That was a happy accident. Number 16, Resident Evil Deadly Silence. This was a port of the original Resident Evil to the Nintendo DS. And guess what edition it made? First-person knife combat. If a zombie got too close to you, you had to swipe the screen
on the stylus. Yeah,
with the stylus.
The little thumb attachment that it came with, where you put your thumb in there. Yeah.
This game also came with co-op multiplayer, but it wasn't like I bought this game really excited to play through the original Resident Evil as co-op multiplayer, but it turns out it was just like specific co-op missions. Which was a little disappointing. And the knife combat was like, it was a fun gimmick for about 5 minutes, but then it got really annoying.
But the thing I love about this one is that it's called Resident Evil Deadly Silence, and it's obviously Resident Evil DS because it's on the DS.
Oh, yeah. That. Yeah. Like, they stretched. They really reached to get that title to be Resident Evil DS. But if you've got a DS, I've got a DS. If we find this game while I'm visiting,
There you go.
we can play it. I don't own it, so we have to find the game. Number 15 is intermission o'clock. This was where the intermission was supposed to go. And then there was a note for me to switch to the YouTube playlist tab, but ignoring that. Number 15 is actually The Evil Within. It's just another Resident Evil game made by the director of Resident Evil.
But not Resident Evil.
But not called. It's called The Evil Within. Do you know what that's a synonym for?
So what?
Resident Evil.
Resident Evil.
So what?
If Resident Evil
It's not
Deadly
Resident
Silence.
Evil.
Oh, Moody, you're gonna get so mad later at this list. The Evil Within, number 15. It's pretty fine. Yeah, okay, whatever game.
Yeah,
and
it might as well be called The Evil Within Your House.
and you know, it's a perfectly fine Resident Evil spin-off. I put this slide in before the Tango Gameworks thing happened, and it's a little bit awkward now. But yeah, no, I stuck with it because that's what you do when you're making a presentation. But we're going to skip past that to number 14, Resident Evil Revelations 1. Originally released on the Nintendo 3DS before it was ported to every platform under the sun, which is where I originally played it. The pitch for Resident Evil Revelations was, we're going back to survival horror, guys. But they did it in a way where they still used the Resident Evil 4/5 like camera and controls. So it was kind of like a half step back to survival horror that didn't work tremendously well, but it did star a lot of the original cast. Chris was there, Jill was there, Claire was there. So, you know, it made up for lackluster gameplay with fan service. Not the booby kind of fan service, the other kind of fan service. And yeah, better than Revelations 2 by like leagues. At number 13, we have the Resident Evil animated movie series.
Wow.
This is a thing. This one's an interesting one because it doesn't
Included
really...
the Netflix one in this? Okay.
It's part of the whole animated
Oh, the pan
canon.
Right, okay, yeah.
Like, these are canon. Like, unlike the live action films, like, these are canon to the Resident Evil story. And, you know, as you can see, Rebecca was in some of them. Jill, there's Leon, and the many different looks of Chris Redfield. These
Jill's
aren't...
only in one of them, but, like, Claire's in, like, I think...
Claire's in all of them.
Yeah.
These aren't so much whatever, okay, as they wildly fluctuate between good and bad, depending on how you're watching them. If you watch these with your brain turned off and you just watch all of the badass characters that you really like doing cool stuff, you're going to have a good time. But if you stop and think about what's happening on the screen, you're going to start asking questions that's going to unravel the entire thing. Like, if you're watching Resident Evil Death Island, for example, you'll start to ask you'll start to make connections such as, that's not how vaccines work. Where are all these weapons coming from? You know, like basic fundamental storytelling questions. But if you watch it with your brain turned off, you just sort of go, yeah, Jill, fucking fuck them up, and as she does all these amazing like knife attacks on zombies. So it wildly varies, and it ended up in here. And also I wanted to put it at number 13 because that's the cursed number.
Degeneration is not bad. Like, they bring back the G-Virus for that one, which is like...
Is that the airport one?
Yeah, that's the airport one. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not bad.
I haven't seen
like,
Infinite Darkness.
Yeah, like I hadn't... Like, I think they were like touting it as it's the first time you've seen Claire and Chris since the second game together. Obviously, Chris was obviously in... not Chris, I mean Leon. I'm talking about Leon. Since he was obviously in the fourth game, but obviously Claire hadn't been seen since Veronica.
Yeah. She barely gets seen in the... This is what I was talking about before. It's like she barely gets seen in the games, but she's in all of the films. Like, Rebecca disappears after Resident Evil 1, but she's in a lot of the films. Like,
that's where she was at.
One of the side plots of Resident Evil Death Island is literally Jill, like, dealing with the psychological trauma of Resident Evil 5. Like, why they chose not to put that in a game, I don't know. They put it in a film that was made like 14 years later. Because that one only came out last year, and I only watched it yesterday. But yeah, I haven't watched the anime Resident Evil Infinite Darkness. I've watched the other 4, though. I bought that one on DVD in a garden center, believe it or not.
Wow.
I think I bought it as well.
Yeah.
Long ago.
I didn't even know they were a thing. All of a sudden, I was just looking at this like rack of like DVDs in a garden center. I was bored, and I was like, Resident Evil, and it's not one of the live action films. Sign me the fuck up.
I haven't seen Vendetta or Infinite Darkness or Death Island. I don't even know about the final 2. I've seen Damnation, and that's a bit loopy, that one. That's a bit switch your brain off, throw it in the sand, and pick it up later.
If you do that, oops, I did not mean to do that. I was trying.
Callers.
It's fine. It's just doing a thing. We might get back. Yeah, we're not that far away.
There you go.
I don't know why it's loading.
You broke it.
Oh man,
It's fine.
It was just getting good. It's just loading.
It's because it's holding the images. Those
It's loading all
4
the
things
images.
like now.
I told you this was the cursed number. Why those images specifically? They're all stored
There you
locally.
go. We're
There
there,
we
we're
go.
there.
They shouldn't have so much trouble. This is all stored on my computer. If you watch these films with your brain turned off, you'll have a good time if you like Resident Evil.
I don't advocate for drugs, but if you watch them high, I've heard they're pretty good.
I may or may not be able to confirm that with the earlier Resident Evil films. Anyway, let's get to number 12. I need to make sure I'm watching out for what's happening next. No, we're fine. Number 12, Resident Evil, The Umbrella Chronicles / The Dark Side Chronicles. To me, these games feel like an apology for all of those stupid first-person games that were supposed to have a light gun but didn't. These came out on the Wii, and you pointed the Wii at the screen, and you shot zombies and assaulted Resident Evil monsters. And they were both essentially retellings of older Resident Evil games, but as light gun games. And they were fine. Like, yeah, okay, whatever, I guess.
So there were still like rail shooters and things like that.
Yeah, they were rail shooters, but
Hell yeah.
not terrible. Like,
awesome.
This was the answer to the question, what if we took the tank controls out of a first-person shooter? And it turns out that's way better. Also, I don't know why Wesker is so prominent in... anyway.
I was going to ask.
For some reason, at a certain point in history, Capcom just decided that everybody loved Wesker. Like, and I mean, he was fine, but like, there were other characters that were way more popular.
Yeah.
But they made Wesker like omnipresent for a while. Number 11. Okay, now this is okay. You have to listen to what I'm saying before you start shouting at me, Moody. Number 11 is Devil May Cry. Now, did you know that Devil May Cry is essentially a Resident Evil game? When they were
did not know that, no.
So when they were developing Resident Evil 4, the first prototype they made was the one they showed off at E3, where like it's Leon and it's kind of like the original Resident Evils. It's a lot slow paced, there's less action, there's more horror. And they were like, this is kind of boring. So they scrapped that. And then Hideki Kamiya, the director of Resident Evil 2, was like, I'm making a Resident Evil game. And it was Devil May, and they were like, this is not a Resident Evil game. Like, we can't put this out as a Resident Evil game. And then he changed the name to Devil May Cry. And then he released Devil May Cry.
More power to them.
And that's how Devil May Cry happened. It's now itself a beloved Capcom staple series. And it all happened because of Resident Evil.
Awesome.
And that's my justification for that. And now I've educated... exactly, Lauren. Now you've got the knowledge. And now that Moody's not talking to me anymore, it's time for another interlude. The top 5. You know, I feel like we've talked a lot about Resident Evil. Let's give a shout out to some non-Resident Evil horror game series. I didn't know how to write that word. It was a plural. So that's what you get. The top 5 non-Resident Evil horror game series. And I thought the best place to start is with the game that definitely inspired Resident Evil, which was Alone in the Dark. Like, there's definitely a lot of Alone in the Dark's DNA in Resident Evil. So instead of a picture of the box art, I chose a meme for the image. And I'm now realizing how bright this meme is.
It's all good.
In a dark room. Yeah, the game that Resident Evil kind of just copied a bit. No judgment. That's how games happen. But I feel like that meant that it deserved a shout out. Number 4, Dead Space. Obvs. Dead Space is a great horror game franchise. It's had its ups and downs, just like Resident Evil.
Yep.
But those first 2 games, spectacular. And again, you know, Dead Space was heavily changed after the developers of Dead Space played Resident Evil 4. And they were like, shit, this is awesome. We got to make our game more like this. And that's how Dead Space happened. Let me just stretch that one out a bit. Number 3, Project Zero or Fatal Frame, depending on where in the world you live. It's Resident Evil, but ghosts. And you have a camera, and it's a magic camera, and you trap spirits. And it's like Resident Evil, but like less good, but way scarier. Like, I'm talking like so much scarier than Resident Evil, but also like not as good gameplay. At number 2, Silent Hill, like the other iconic survival horror series of the 90s and early 2000s, where Resident Evil
doing such a bang-up job with.
It's had its ups and downs, just like Resident Evil. It's coming back. It's going to come back eventually. Where Resident Evil was the B-movie horror action-y fun series, Silent Hill was the psychological, slow burn, spooky horror series. And you would have thought that was number 1, but this year I've come to realize that there is a superior horror series setting than both Resident Evil and Silent Hill. And that's Pokemon.
Yes!
Thank you for wearing the hat, even though you didn't know this was happening, Moody.
Hey, you Pikachu, take that.
And you might think there's a lot of reasons that I would say this, but there's only really one reason that I would say this. As Moody knows, when I play a game, I don't just play a game. I like to learn about a game. That's why this presentation happened. I learned so much about Resident Evil since 1996 that I eventually just needed a release file for all of it. And the resulting video essay would have probably been about 10 hours long, so we're doing this presentation instead. So, y'all ever read the Pokedex? Like, read the Pokedex? Like, the little entries you get.
Horror novel.
So, I brought some Pokemon with me, whose names I didn't write down, and I wish I did. And they're corresponding Pokedex entries, like this one. When it finds humans or Pokemon it likes, it freezes them and takes them to its chilly den, where they become decorations. Or this fancy lad, who is made of stumps possessed by the spirits of children who died in the forest, and their cries sound like eerie screams.
I did run away, so he doesn't want to hear this.
Everybody loves Gengar, right? Like, Gengar's cool.
Yeah, Motifs.
He looks like a fun little guy. Should you feel yourself attacked by a sudden chill, it is evidence of an approaching Gengar. There is no escaping it. Give up. This is in the manual for the kids read about the Pokemon that they're looking for. How about this? This is a cutie, right? Everybody loves this one. Like, what could this one's deal be? Stories go that it grabs the hands of small children and drags them away to the afterlife. It dislikes heavy children. Now,
it's really, really funny, that one, because there's a side quest about that in Arceus.
So the 4 that I have given you so far are all from Pokemon Sun. And I have to ask a question at this point about the people who wrote the Pokedex entries for Pokemon Sun. Are you okay? So, are you guys all right? But it wasn't just Pokemon Sun. you know, there are all sorts of entries. This one from Pokemon Silver, it remembers every dream and eats it. Rarely eats the dreams of adults because children's are much tastier. Or
I've
this
heard
one
that,
from
yeah.
Pokemon Violet. The moment this Pokemon finds someone who's emitting strong emotions, it will pummel them senseless with its braids to silence them. Or this one from Pokemon Black. Each of them carries a mask that used to be its face when it was human. Sometimes they look at it and cry. We've got one from Pokemon Platinum here. To protect its trainer, it will expend all its psychic power to create a small black hole. As a treat. Just a small one as a treat.
Yeah.
Or my personal favorite. When its life comes to an end, it absorbs the life energy of every living thing and turns into a cocoon. We call that an extinction level event.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is, Pokemon are terrifying, correct? There's definitely a missed opportunity with that game. Like, Game Freak are missing an opportunity to create the scariest horror game in the history of video games. And the pieces are all already there. So
I mean, yeah, you've got the slavery, you got the entrapment, you got the dog fighting, and then these on top of this as well. So 100%.
anyway, I don't know if Moody feels like he's being attacked a bit too much here, so I'm just going to move on to, okay, these are pretty good. Good job. And this is the top 10 too, so like it's serious time right now. Very serious. Put your serious faces on because we're about to get serious. And number 10 is Resident Evil 4, 2023. The remake.
Interesting.
Of Resident Evil 4. Yeah, okay, this one's pretty good. Is it amazing? No. Me and Moody have both had a discussion where it's like, the game is enjoyable, apart from the fact that every single section of it we hate doing in the moment. Which is a fascinating set of emotions to unpack. So I wasn't 100% sure where to put this, and then it felt right to put it above Devil May Cry.
What are you buying?
So, crap. So, number 9, how do you follow Resident Evil 2023? With Dino Crisis, or, as it's known in this house, Resident Evil, but there are dinosaurs instead of zombies in this one.
There you go. Perfect. Nailed it. No notes.
2 hours ago, I told Moody there was no Dino Crisis in this presentation. Don't know if he believed me.
Didn't believe you at all.
It's number 9. That's pretty good, right?
There you go.
Do you like my Photoshop job of the cover? Took me all of 2 minutes.
I love it.
Thank you. This is the level of graphic design that I aspire to.
Yes.
It's a pretty good game. There's no zombies, but there's a lot of dinosaurs. And the main protagonist is pretty cool too. So, let's move on to number 8. Resident Evil Village. Probably the dumbest fucking game I've played in a long time.
Yeah. By the end of it, by the end of the year, we were just like, this is just a dumb game, and it's like,
but I'm having so much fun.
Yeah. It's like it's a different theme park, just with different themed areas of this is a spooky castle, this is a spooky house with a baby. I do not want to see the baby.
Now it's Resident Evil. Now it's PT. Yes. Now it's Metal Gear Solid. This is amazing.
And now it's Call of Duty.
Yeah, that bit wasn't so
good. It went Call of Duty at one point. I forgot about that part.
Resident Evil 6 was such a train wreck because they tried to make what they called the ultimate horror experience, and then they actually made the ultimate horror experience with Resident Evil Village, where they just threw everything at the wall and somehow it all managed to stick. Apart from the Call of Duty.
It didn't introduce the 26,000 different UIs that you got in Resident Evil 6, and I do miss that.
I mean, that's true. It was, you know what? It was a superior Resident Evil 4 remake to the Resident Evil 4 remake, and it had a tall vampire lady and a PT section with a giant baby monster. Yeah. What more can you ask for? Took me ages to find an image of the logo with the correct character on the front of
course.
it. And I just want everyone to appreciate that for a moment. Anyway, number 7. Resident Evil 1996, the director's cut. I played the director's cut when I was a kid. Now, I don't know who the dude on the front cover is. He doesn't
What's
seem to be
happening with his
doing quite
eyes?
well.
But is this before he's run into the zombies or after?
But this is the cover of the director's cut for some reason.
Who needs a glass of water? He's dehydrated to fuck.
Like, it's the same character from the original one as well. Like, a random person. It's just a random dude on the cover, even on the original, and it's just like, wait, what? Like, who? So wait, is this Chris? Everyone was thinking, is this Chris? That doesn't look like Chris.
I think it's
Is it
supposed to
Wesker?
be
That's
Chris.
definitely not yeah, if it is, he ain't doing a good job.
Well, look, there's no character in Resident Evil history that has been redesigned more than Chris Redfield, so maybe this is just another version of Chris Redfield.
This is true.
Hashtag not my Chris.
Put a big trench coat on him, same dude. That's
Yeah,
it.
exactly, right? Like, I
Oh
mean,
my
look at
God,
those
I
muscles.
forgot about that stupid hashtag not my Chris.
You knew I had to get a
Jesus.
joke about it in somewhere.
Jeez, I forgot about that.
I mean, the muscles definitely tell me he's at least a precursor to Chris Redfield. Maybe this is what he looked like after the game.
Yeah.
And that's why he was gone for so long until Code Veronica. I don't know what's going on with his face. It's his eyebrow that really
Trying to do the rock's eye, the people's eyebrow. Losing his eyebrow all the time.
What's with the background as well? Like, I don't know. It's
I think
torn.
this is just how macho this particular gentleman is that he's burst through the scenery, taking half the background out with him.
Like the
with his
Kool-Aid Man.
shotgun. Yeah, exactly.
I think we're scaring everybody in chat. So let's see what number 6 is. Even I've forgotten. No, number 6. It's Resident Evil 2, 2019.
Hell yeah.
The remake that was pretty good. Good job, guys. Like, I definitely almost shit myself inside out with excitement when they announced this.
Oh, you went feral for this one, yeah.
Big time. But like, you know, I played it. It's really good. Like, as far as like games that are pretty good, you know, good job, guys. It's definitely at the top of that pile, for sure.
Yeah.
No, it's like arguably, I think a lot of people dub it like one of the perfect remakes out there. I would probably put Dead Space's remake above that, but like, yeah, it's like it is a great remake. There's no doubt about that.
I can safely say we're done with. I'm going to tenuously connect this to Resident Evil entries. There's no more Dead Space, but yeah, no, Resident Evil 2, 2019, really cool remake. Like, they brought the horror to Resident Evil like in a way that it had never been brought before. Like, the game was actually like scary as opposed to just like spooky with jump scares, like B-movie horror. It kind of moved up to, oh, actually, like, I don't want to move down this corridor. Like, this is scary. It's not so scary anymore once you've tried to enter a speedrun competition with Moody.
Yeah, I can see how that takes a shine off the whole.
Yeah, like
spooky
once you've played it 25 times, you know, it's not as scary, but I still appreciate it for the wonderful game that it is. So with Moody gone now, let's move on to our final interlude before the top 5, which I titled Interlude Number The Final Cut. Don't know why I called it The Final Cut. I don't think it's a reference to anything Resident Evil related, but this is the final interlude, and I decided to save this one for last. The top 5 most mind-baffling moments in Resident Evil. This was a hard one to narrow down to 5, but I did it because I'm amazing. Number 5, the robot statue. Well, I don't understand the purpose of this statue. If it's a defense mechanism, it's not very good because, as you can see from the screenshot, it's clearly destroying the castle that it's supposed to be defending.
I mean, it is a nuclear option.
And it's rubbish. You can outrun it on foot. Like, why did they
Only for
build
Leon
this?
S. Kennedy.
Why did they build this? All you have to do is mash square and like run away from it. I stay up nights thinking about what the purpose of this robot statue is and why they put it also in the remake. Number 4. Chris Redfield's entire plan in Resident Evil Village.
Yeah.
is definitely one of the most mind-baffling things in the franchise. This dumbass motherfucker, he starts strong. He takes Mia out. Spoiler alert, she's not Mia. She's the bad guy for like the entire game. Doesn't confirm the kill. Doesn't take the time to explain to Ethan after he's blown Mia away why he did that. So essentially, Resident Evil Village is an idiot plot. And for those that don't know what an idiot plot is, it is a plot that wouldn't exist if the characters weren't being idiots. And Chris Redfield he even gets called out on it. It's like Capcom knew it was a stupid idea because, you know, even his dudes call him out on it halfway through the game. They're like, why did you do this in this way? And the answer was because there wouldn't have been a game otherwise. So I can reconcile that with myself, but also I have to point it out as one of the stupidest things that's ever happened in Resident Evil.
Yeah, and then Ethan's whole motivation is, I want my baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back, baby back. And that's it. It's a one-track mind. Which I can understand, but yeah.
Sure, but it takes you to some fantastic places.
Sure does. That's a Dimitrescu. Shout out.
Shout out to the sub 4.5, we'll call it, which is, my baby is in pieces in jars, and if I put the jars back together, I'll rebuild my baby.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, perfect sense.
Yeah. Number 3. The entirety of Resident Evil 6, if you stop to think about it, for more than 48 seconds. Which brings up questions along the lines of, how does Virus make Carla look like Ada? Why does this never come up again? It seems like it would be a thing. Why does torture make her want to end all life on the planet? Why is she nowhere bra? When was Jake Mueller born? Why doesn't he need the same serum his dad needs to stop him being infected with the virus he inherited? That's not how viruses work. Zombie T-Rex? Why do a plotline where Chris Redfield has amnesia, then randomly give him his memories back for no reason? Why is there no callback to Leon and Helena faking their deaths? So, like, we're all just okay with the idea that a terrorist attack that turns people into zombies and unleashes monsters is now a part of everyday life?
Apparently so.
Yes.
And canonically, the last thing that we hear Leon say in the whole of the Resident Evil franchise, in Gameverse anyway, is just him going, women. Which I thought was a choice.
I ran out of space for questions. I could have added some, like, in the blank space and just done a thing, but I was like, you know what? That's pushing my graphic design skills too far. Resident Evil 6.
Right, boob tape for days.
I did say Resident Evil 6 was going to make a comeback. It hurts my brain to think about this game, so I'm going to click to number 2, which is Rebecca Chambers being shocked or scared by anything in Resident Evil after surviving the abominations in RE0. Also, why did she need Chris to save her from a hunter, and why'd she just disappear from the story completely after surviving 2 entire Umbrella fuck-ups? Also, why does Wesker have this photo of a desk, this photo hidden in his desk? What are you doing, Capcom? Explain yourselves. I flipped that half.
I don't think they know themselves.
If you search Wesker's desk 50 times in Resident Evil 2, you get this photo. It doesn't even look like Rebecca
50
Chambers.
times?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You get gun bullets, and then you just keep saying this desk is messy or something like that. But if you do it 50 times, you get this photo. And this is what I was talking about before, Moody, to your point. Why is Rebecca Chambers the way that she is in Resident Evil 1? If she survived Resident Evil 0, she fought the Lich Queen and won. And then, like, she can't fight one zombie for most of Resident Evil 1. That's the plot quagmire I was talking about before.
I mean, maybe her skills evolved to a point where she solves all of her crime for the police for with a basketball, and also does that with combat when it comes to fighting zombies. It's always basketball to the face.
Again, I could believe that, but in Resident Evil 0, she uses guns and grenade launchers and a rocket launcher, and blows up the entire facility and then walks to the mansion, and it's just like, oh no, zombies, help. It really bothers me quite a bit. You could have just not had Rebecca Chambers be in the game, and it would have been fine. But you chose
to
not to
Troy
do
Bolton
that.
get ahead in the game.
You could have just used a character that canonically died in Resident Evil 1, but you went with Rebecca. That's fine. Anyway, number one, I mean, as far as mind-baffling Resident Evil things go, I don't even need to say this one out loud.
Yes! Why are we going to punch a boulder?
People remember the boulder punching. I don't know how many people remember that the boulder punching takes place as part of a boss fight against Albert Wesker in an active volcano.
Mm-hmm. I like how they how they call this, make a callback to it in Resi Village.
But again, that further angers me, because how the hell did he know about that? There was only 3 people here, and one of them died, and one of them disappeared into the Phantom Realm, and the other one was Chris Redfield, and he sure as shit didn't tell him.
Yeah, this is the thing where if you think about it for 48 seconds again... I know this is Resi 5.
The lesson to take away from this interlude is you should never spend more than 48 seconds thinking about any Resident Evil thing, ever.
Mm-hmm.
You'll end up like me, making a 2 hour and 20 minute so far presentation about Resident Evil. And you don't want to end up like this. But anyway, enough about that. It's time for the life-changing bangers, and this time we are going to get serious for reals. The top 5 Resident Evil games of all time. Number 5, Resident Evil Biohazard, the 7th one. This was a life-changing experience for me, because it brought Resident Evil back after so long of it not being very good.
Yeah, I agree. Resident Evil Biohazard is absolutely an amazing game.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
Try playing it in VR, which I did all the way through. Apart from the insect bit, I couldn't do that bit because I have a thing with like creepy crawlies. So I took the headset off, and then when I got out of that bit, put it back on. But that is some game. Absolutely adored it. Loved the change of tone. Did enjoy the fact that like it kind of moved away from the Resident Evil like lore and the crushing amount of story inconsistencies that we had seen. As you might know, like I have some thoughts about that. It just disentangled itself from all of it and was a very simple game about mold.
Yeah,
it's the lesson of Resident Evil 7: sort out your mold. Everyone's bad, and it might try to kill you. Or take over your brain.
I still remember when the father burst through the wall like the Kool-Aid man. And you're just walking down the first corridor.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's like before you get to the garage and have the fight with him or anything like that. Yeah.
Oh, fun fact, that was actually a callback reference to a jump scare in Resident Evil 2. Mr. X does that. You take him down in a room, in the press room, and then you run away, and you're like, I took that guy down, and then he fucking blasts through the wall, and you're like, oh no. All of my life choices have led to this. Sorry, just replying on chat there. And number 4, Resident Evil 4, 2005.
Oh yeah.
Say what you want about what this game actually did to the Resident Evil franchise, and I have said a lot. It's still a great game. Like,
yeah, it's standalone, 100%.
On its own. Like, the controls haven't aged amazingly well, which is why the remake happened, I guess. But like playing this game on GameCube when it came out, I rented it from a Blockbuster, and it's like it just blew my mind. Like, it wasn't the first 3D over-the-shoulder perspective shooter, but I think it was the first one I played ever, and it was like, wow, this is a video game. Holy shit. And again,
Resi 4, the original, iconic as hell.
Yeah, it came after Zero and Code Veronica, which, as I have explained, I did not enjoy. So it was like that Resident Evil 7 effect of like, oh my god, Resident Evil is so good. It didn't last very long, but this was a really good game. And also, I guess, Ashley. I like that you can unlock the costume where she's in a big knight armor, and the people can't carry her away because she's too heavy. But they added a bespoke animation, so you know when she jumps down and you catch her. They added an extra animation for if she's wearing the suit of armor and Leon catches her, he puts her down on the ground and then grabs his back. Like, ow. I was like, that's a nice touch. I like that a lot.
And one of my favorite things about this is the very end of the game. So spoilers for that is when she's gone through. They've both gone through all this. They're on the jet ski, as I understand, and they're going away. And then she decides, you know what, I'm going to hit on this man.
And he's just
say,
like,
you know, no,
whatever.
I don't want nothing to do with that.
And good choice, Leon. Good choice. I love the idea that they sent one man to rescue the president's daughter. always a classic. I like that they committed to the Resident Evil tradition of wherever these characters are standing in the last level has to explode.
Yes.
And they just blew up an entire island. And I was like, damn, like, you're really sticking with the classics, and I respect it.
Also, shout out to the meme where he's talking to the president and he said, it's okay, I'm not racist, I speak Spanish.
Remember that. That's a good one. Yeah, the game was a little bit... that's going to be a yikes for me, dog. But,
Yeah.
Not enough to relegate it to... I mean, compared to the 3 examples I gave... Oh, damn, I've heard that line. Yeah. So Vitz has probably said it out loud. Number 3. Resident Evil 2, 1998.
Yeah.
Iconic video game. My first Resident Evil, actually. When I don't know how or when I got this. I definitely wasn't old enough to play it when I got it. My parents gave me it anyway, and I had nightmares. And they regretted their decision, but it was too late because I already had it. Like, one of the things that I really love about this game is the A-B scenarios that, like, they've never tried to do again, and it really annoys the shit out of me. Like, but also just everything about this game. They took the very first Resident Evil and they just went, we're gonna make everything better. And then someone was like, what do you mean everything? And they were like, everything. We're gonna make everything better. This was directed by Hideki Kamiya, who went on to direct Devil May Cry, by Bayonetta, The Wonderful 101.
Hell yeah.
And was just an absolutely incredible video game that I've definitely replayed the most in my life. Like, in terms of, like, complete playthroughs, this is the game I've played the most.
Yeah, it's probably the same for me. Like, Resi 2 is absolutely a fantastic game. There's no doubt about that.
Yes, Resident Evil 2. Also, I like the cover. This was the cover that I had.
The cover is badass.
It's a lot better than the Resident Evil Director's Cut cover.
Sure is.
Which is something. Published by Virgin Interactive. Surely wild times in 1998. We're down to the final 2. So I'm just going to peel the bandage off and say that number 2 is Resident Evil 3 Nemesis. Look at Nemesis with all his teeth.
Wow, teeth.
Teeth, published by Eidos this time.
Exactly.
So you know they're serious because it was published by the Tomb Raider people. And the warning's in French. I think. Pretty sure that's French. Might not be French.
Yes.
Pretty sure it is. Like, this was about as far as you could take the original Resident Evil formula on PlayStation, which is why we started getting games like Zero and Code Veronica messing with the formula before they finally made Resident Evil 4. Stars Jill Valentine, the greatest protagonist in Resident Evil history. Fun fact, though, this was originally a spin-off. So this wasn't going to be the third Resident Evil. Resident Evil Code Veronica was supposed to be Resident Evil 3. But it was taking too long to make, and this spin-off about Jill Valentine surviving in Raccoon City during the zombie outbreak ended up being closer to completion, so they just made this one Resident Evil 3 and released it. And I'm very glad they did, because I really love this game a lot. I love the fact that you can visit the different locations that you need to get stuff from in different orders, and that will cause Nemesis to attack you in different places and in different ways. I replayed this game on stream during the pandemic lockdown in 2020, and I have played this game a lot. And I saw Nemesis come from a place that I've never seen him come from before. 20 years after the game came out. It was terrifying. He just jumped over a gate, and I didn't know what to do. This also had the very first Mercenaries mode, which was a time attack mode where you had to get from point A to point B with a character with a set amount of... a set like weapon loadout and a set amount of ammo, and you couldn't pick up any more ammo. It was very fun. I played that a lot too. And
awesome.
Overall, the second best Resident Evil game.
And here we go.
I mean, there's only one left. If you do the maths in your head and think, what's she not said? Which one hasn't she talked about? And he's like, Data Crisis 2.
Yes.
I said,
Am I being stupid here? Have you mentioned Resi 6?
Yeah, ages ago.
In the list?
Mm-hmm.
Yikes. This was a yikes. That was a yikes game.
Did I miss that?
No, but it was a while ago.
My brain's just like, wait.
We've had several
Resi
pictures
6?
of Lady Dimitrescu since then.
Yeah, that was like a brain reset moment for everybody.
Mm. Yeah, we all know what number 1 is.
It's Resident Evil 2002 on the Nintendo GameCube. This game looked incredible. This game looked better than like games that came out 10 years after it. It's like,
yeah,
they took Resident Evil 1 and they just made it perfect. And like when I think of like what is a perfect remake of a game, it's the Resident Evil remake on the Nintendo GameCube. Like they just did everything better. And they made the game that they wanted to make because it was on the GameCube. They could make the game bigger, which meant that they could like add the wing to the mansion that they wanted to add in the original game. They could expand on the plot. They did take out the voice acting and improve it, which I didn't like. I kind of like the original voice acting. Like,
oh, they needed to change it. Don't just
like,
don't.
I just could as an option. Like you complete the game, you know, you get a rocket launcher, you get some new claws. It's like just give me the option for the voice acting. Like,
no, I would never.
let me flick that bad boy back on and hear about the master of unlocking. Shout out to the box art, which has, you know, Jill Valentine, the greatest protagonist in Resident Evil on it. Shout out to everything. Like this game improved gameplay, it improved the graphics, it improved the art, it improved the enemies, it improved everything. This game was the reason I bought a Nintendo GameCube. Like,
it's a very solid reason, absolutely. Yeah.
Unlike Resident Evil 4, when it says in the top corner only for Nintendo GameCube, they fucking meant it.
Yeah.
Until 2015, when they ported it to HD consoles,
everything.
This game was only available on Nintendo GameCube.
Nintendo knew what they were doing,
and that's it. That's my presentation. That's my Resident Evil.
Jeez.
I ranked all of the Resident Evil games successfully. There's no more slides after this. See, like I'm clicking the button, nothing's happening.
Amazing work, Amy.
Well, you know,
that was amazing.
You bet you all thought, oh, she's just gonna say, well, what number 10 is this? And nope. She did what she always does, which is thank you very much, chat. I love Jill Valentine's style too. I think she's incredible.
Yeah.
Thank you, Lauren. Not gonna lie, that was a lot of talking.
It was a lot of talking. I'll just say again, thank you so much for being here for this charity stream by the Words About Games podcast. Cross special effect, and we're raising money for that amazing team of people who help so many people out with being able to play video games with various different accessibility needs and what have you. And yeah, we are so proud of the team over there, and so lucky to have fantastic support like you. We've raised so much money today, and we've hit so many different stretch goals. The next stream where we're bringing you is that we'll be subjecting our dear friend Moody here to Halo Reach, and for YouTube video watchers of this one, you'll have seen a sweet little intro to the stream that we've got here. I've been chefing something special for the Halo stream. Don't you worry.
I want to make sure that gets in the stream because I've seen it, I've heard it. It's amazing. I want everyone to see it, but we're keeping it under wraps for now. But yeah, no, looking forward to making Moody play Halo Reach to completion.
We'll be there too.
It's apparently the best Halo. It's got a story, which is I can always gravitate to. I love a story because Halo never had a story until number 4, which is like fucking hell. It only took you 4 games.
It's a lot like what I said about Resident Evil animated movies, where it's like if you switch your brain off, but if you think about what's happening in the story for more than 48 seconds, holes start to emerge.
Just a little bit.
The first 3, yeah. But no, like I'm really looking forward to subjecting Moody to Halo Reach. I'm really thankful that we get to do stuff like this. Like, you know, I wasn't sure about the way we changed the charity streams to be a series of fundraising goals to hit, but it's worked out really well. Like we've hit 4 of them already. And I'm looking forward to presenting you with each and every stream. Luckily, I don't have to put as much work into any of the rest of them as I did today. I kind of shot my shot early, and now I'm passing the baton to Moody. But yeah, no, this has been great, and thank you so much for donating to a great cause. And keep an eye out on our social medias to see when we'll be back with the Halo streams. In the meantime, I'm sure Moody's going to play more Pokemon, and I'm probably going to try and do some streams. We'll try and see if we can get the rest of that money.
Absolutely. In the meantime, be sure to subscribe to Words Back Games on podcast services of your choice. And if you aren't sick of our beautiful faces just yet, then there'll be content every single week. And as Amy said, stay tuned to our socials to find out when we'll be playing Halo Reach. Until then, take care, everybody.
Bye.
Resident Evil.
Ranking Resident Evil.